All right, we're back. I believe this is episode 11. I am Drew, and once again joined by my co-host, Mike. Mike, how are you?
I'm just as handsome as ever, Drew. It's good to see you.
1 second. I'm getting some feedback from my computer because I had our YouTube stream open over there. Rookie mistakes. Just a bunch of rookies over here.
I'm going to have to cut your pay.
Yeah, it's a real bummer. I don't know how much lower it can go, but
hey, I'm going to cut it in half. Half of zero is still zero, right?
I'm not losing much, so that's the way to look at it. Speaking of cutting pay, now that's a terrible segue. We've got some news and notes from around the NFL today. Let's start with a team near and dear to your heart, the Los Angeles Rams.
There's a player that's near and dear to my heart, but, the team comes with him.
Yeah, it's true. So we have Sean McVay, their head coach, and their GM, Les Snead, both announcing that they have signed extensions, but we don't know for how long and we don't know for how much quite yet. I imagine that coming off of a Super Bowl win, that Sean McVay will probably be the highest paid coach in the NFL, would be my guess.
I would assume so.
Yeah, I think that he'll probably eke over I don't know who the current highest paid coach in the NFL is, but I would imagine that he ekes over whatever they're making annually. So, yeah. And it's probably well deserved. Like since he's arrived in Los Angeles, they've had solid teams, winning records, and a Super Bowl win. So,
yeah. And the Super Bowl, he was in the Super Bowl as well. So,
yeah.
6 years? He's made 2 Super Bowls, won the division almost every year. Guys like Aaron Donald will help you do those kinds of things.
All-time greats, I think, are really solid to have on your squad. They would contribute greatly to your winning record. Funky's in the chat. Hey, Funky, how are you? News and notes. We're going through them.
What's up, buddy?
So real quick in the news and notes section, I wanted to make kind of a broad, sweeping declaration about all the different players who either have made trade demands of their teams or appear to be heading for a divorce in the offseason, that kind of thing. So the players in question here are Jimmy Garoppolo, Kareem Hunt, Roquan Smith, and Jesse Bates. And I think largely because anytime any player indicates that they want to leave their team, every team, there's someone in the media, Lions community, Bears community, Seahawks community, or whatever, that wants to take a look at how that player, now that they've indicated that they're going to become available, would fit on the current roster of whatever team that they're a fan of.
Yeah.
And so we, several episodes ago, talked about accessibility, and a lot of teams have to address certain positions in the draft because, high quality players at their positions don't really become available on the free agent market, right? Or are able to be traded for. So let's take a look at Jimmy Garoppolo. Like, he is Funky's helping us out over here. Last year was Belichick at 12 and Pete Carroll at 11. So what do you think? 12-5 for McVay? I'm going to guess 12-5.
I guess probably 15.
15?
I think it's going to be 15.
Jesus Christ. I forgot what I was doing. I was so surprised by the number. Jimmy Garoppolo. Okay. Jesus Christ. 15. If he gets $15 million a year.
Amazon was offering him like $100 million for like an 8-year contract or something to do work, and he turned that down.
Wow.
That's why I'm thinking it's going to be like a 15. But yeah, Garoppolo
is making just like $50,000 shy of $27 million this year. So if they just straight up cut him right now, they save $25.5 on their cap. It's amazing. They only take like a $1.4 million dead money hit. And then I saw something today on Twitter that they're going to let him choose where he wants to go because they appreciated his effort for the team. And so people were like, well, we should get whistles. Interesting. I don't think I've seen whistles before. Hey, whistles.
This is definitely not casual General Motors.
Not General Motors. Michigan. Sorry.
We're talking Detroit, but
if you're a car guy, that's about as far away from my interest as it can be. I apologize, but feel free to check us out. If he were to say, come to Detroit, let's just say that Jimmy Garoppolo clears waivers or whatever the process is.
He ends up in Detroit, right? That's the only way he can pick his destination.
Well, I mean, not really. I mean, he's a first-time viewer. Excellent. We love first-time viewers. Welcome. If you have any questions, throw them in the chat, Whistles. If he is cut, that would be as much control as he has, because it's not like he's not Kevin Durant, right? Like he can't just like say trade me to team X and then have San Francisco execute that trade. So I assume that when it says that they're looking for a team for him to go to, it means that like he's having back channel conversations to be like, I'm going to get cut. I'm going to sign here. If he were to come to Detroit, he should start. He's a better quarterback than Jared Goff. Not by much, but he is a superior quarterback. So if it was about winning football games, and Jimmy Garoppolo magically ended up on the roster as opposed to Tim Boyle, I would start Jimmy Garoppolo, but there's no chance. Yeah. So let's talk about Kareem Hunt.
$60 million in quarterback.
I don't think that we assume if he's cut. I don't think that we assume that contract. I don't believe that's the way.
He's going to get paid. How much of it
he's going to keep his guaranteed money?
Yeah.
So Funky says, "What about Jimmy G to Cleveland for Hunt?" Well, with the NFL appealing the suspension recommendation of Deshaun Watson, it does now feel like Deshaun Watson will be suspended for longer than 6 games.
Yeah.
So unless you're going to throw this season away, which doesn't make any sense because they owe their pick to Houston, you need to maximize this roster, everybody else that's on this roster, as opposed to Deshaun Watson. So if for some reason Cleveland was like, we will go ahead and do Kareem Hunt for Jimmy Garoppolo, if I would do that, and I wouldn't be able to file the paper fast enough if I was Cleveland.
Well, the nice part is they don't want, like you said, they don't want to throw away this year. They've got a playoff quality team. Like they are capable of making the playoffs. So why throw that away? Once you get in the playoffs, anything can happen. So I think you definitely, if you can, make that trade.
Yeah, I would. If I was Cleveland, I would make that trade. If Jimmy Garoppolo, the only way I can see San Francisco doing it is if Jimmy Garoppolo came to them and said, Cleveland's the destination I want to rehab for a year, and then hit the open market. And then if they were like, I would still probably want some draft picks. But if you wanted to throw Kareem Hunt in there and to get him out of the situation and have him stop being annoying, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And then there's Roquan Smith, and we'll throw Robert Quinn into this one too because Funky brought him up in the chat. Roquan Smith is going to he is going to be paid if not the top linebacker in the NFL, he's going to be paid like a top 3 linebacker in the NFL. I would bet my house on it. So people in Detroit have been saying, let's trade for Roquan Smith. It's not that I don't think that the player is a bad player. It's that if you simply added a linebacker, even a good one like Roquan Smith, to the Lions right now, do they go from being a 8-9, 9-8 team this year potentially to a 12-win team, an 11-win team? I don't think so. Would they be better? Yeah, they'd be better. I don't think that's. I can argue against that point.
Yeah.
But Chicago would be trading him in the division, which I think is becoming you listen to a podcast based on Sean McVay is on it, and he
Yeah.
talks to other head coaches and GMs around the league.
Yeah.
And I believe it was on there that I heard one of them say, like, that's becoming, like, the interdivision trading and stuff. It is already becoming less of a taboo.
Yeah.
So, like, and during the draft, we saw the Lions made a trade in the first round with the Vikings. It's an interdivision trade, So I think that Roquan Smith is probably going to end up playing this year for the Bears and then going into unrestricted free agency, unless some team comes up and says, we're going to give you a couple of mid-round picks or something, because the Bears would love to recoup some draft capital.
Yeah.
But they're not going to be able to get, he was like the 9th pick. Like, they're not going to get that back.
They're going to look for some sort of compensation. They don't want to give them up for free, but they know that they can't hold out for like a first rounder or something like that. So they'll get as good as they can, which may end up being a second, maybe it's a third, but they're probably not going to get a ton more than that.
So the one thing that if the Bears really wanted to get, like, play some hardball, they could tag him at the end of the season and control his rights just even more, and like kind of guarantee the compensation that they would get for him.
Yeah.
And then they're going to have like $90 million in cap room, like, at the end of the season. They're still going to need to field another half of their team. But like, if the tag is like $10 million for a starting off-ball linebacker, that's nothing.
Yeah.
Like, why wouldn't you do that if it helps you get some more value out of it? And the worst case scenario is that he has to play for you again.
Yeah.
Or he loses a year of
So one of the things that popped out in ESPN had their rankings of the of all the teams, and they ranked them based on the talent under the age of 25.
Yeah.
And with the work that Holmes has done in the draft, and the Lions bounced 21 points or 21 spots up to, I think they said it was 7th in the league in talent under 25. And one of the things that, kind of coming back to this conversation is that's one of those things that allows you to build for longer term growth, right? Because they're younger, you keep them, you potentially have them longer.
Right.
Signing some of these, I don't want to say middle-aged, but like middle of the career, second, third contract guys does not help you stay young and good for longer period of time. So I think it's kind of taking a step back as you're trying to get young and good. You don't want to necessarily slow that down by picking up someone older, unless you're a team that is, one awesome linebacker away from, taking that next step and being a contender instead of a pretender. And the Lions aren't there yet, so it doesn't make sense to go for any of those guys.
The team I would like to see him end up on is not San Diego, Los Angeles, the Chargers. I would love to see them say, even if, they have this year and next year inside of Justin Herbert's like rookie window. But we're not saying that he's old. Yeah. We're saying like he's a non-rookie contract player. That would have been a better way to say it.
Yeah.
He's going to go into the point in his career where he's going to be paid the most for his talent. So typically signing those guys in free agency, like him, like a Jesse Bates from Cincinnati, when he hits the open market, like going and paying top dollar for, anybody effectively outside of being a quarterback, is almost, I think, probably poor business at this point. Like, you don't want to set market
building,
right? Especially if you're building. Like, I mean,
if you're peaking, and that's just going to help you peak faster. That's one thing, but that's not where we're at.
Well, I would say if you're keeping a championship window open, like what the Rams did with Bobby Wagner, like if that helps them keep their championship window open another year.
That's what the Bills did, right, with Von Miller. They threw an absurd amount of money for his age at him, but that the window, right?
His contract is not what it looks like on the face of it. I don't like the way that they report contracts anymore. So let me just take a look at Von Miller's contract real quickly. So he is getting paid $5 million this year, and then he'll make 18.7 in 2023, and then 21.2 in 2024, and then he has 3 void years on the back end of the deal. So his deal was really like a 3-year deal that was stretched out to be a 6-year deal to make it look huge, but it's not huge. Like, I doubt that he'll be on Buffalo for more than 2-3 seasons. So, but anyways, semantics. I hope that Roquan goes to San Diego Los Angeles, the Chargers. I get so confused as to where teams are anymore, but like, I think that he'd be a very interesting backer next to, I mean, they signed Kyle Van Noy to help their run defense. If you put like Roquan Smith back there with him, like, I don't care. Kenneth Murray's a guy, you spend a 1st-round pick on him, but like, he's a linebacker. Like, there's very few linebackers in the NFL that truly matter, and like Roquan Smith is probably one of them. But the Bears are going to take the best deal that they can get. And then as for Robert Quinn, I think that Robert Quinn woke up one day and looked around the locker room, and everybody that he used to play with is like either gone or trying to get out. Like, the only guy left on that Bears defense that's like really doing anything other than him is Eddie Jackson, who is being paid like a top safety. So, but anyways, let's stop talking about the rest of the NFL and start talking about the Lions a little bit.
Yeah.
So this is the second episode of our look at the current state of like contracts on the roster. And so this year we're going to be doing years 3 and 4 out from this current year. So this would be 2025 and 2024 and 2025.
Yeah.
So let me bring up my handy Google Doc.
Whistles and Anthony joined us. Anthony.
Yeah, he says they tagged A-Rob and he downed tools quit on them. Excellent.
The Lions had 4 people retire on them this year.
If you had who they were throwing the ball to Allen Robinson for his tenure in Chicago, I don't know that I would be thrilled with playing for that team, but we'll see how he plays in Los Angeles. Like, he's never once had a good quarterback throwing him the ball. So I don't really fault him, to be honest, because they're trash. The Bears are trash, unfortunately.
Yeah. So if you have not seen any of the previous episodes, I think it was episode 9, where we did kind of part 1 of this, where we looked pretty in depth at years 1 and 2, meaning this coming year and the year after, next year and the year after, of expiring contracts.
Yeah. So I made this kind of ad hoc Excel sheet, because I'm not a graphics wizard at this point in my career in podcasting, but just to kind of give us an idea of whose contract is going to be up on a timeline. So here we have 2024 in like magenta or whatever this color might be, somewhere between pink and purple. And this is the first group of people that Brad Holmes drafted kind of hitting the market. So this is when you'd have to make decisions on, say, Penei Sewell, Aleem McNeil, on Wuzurike. This is that group. Yep. So we're going to take a look at the offense first. This guy, I can't remember his first name. Is it Zane Obed?
Is it Zach?
Maybe it's Zach. I don't know. He retired, so we don't have to worry about him. Corey Sutton retired. We don't have to worry about him. And these other guys that are crossed off, those are the guys I did not think would make the roster. So free agents after the 2024 season, we start with, Vaitai, Penei Sewell, Goff's contract would officially run out. Jamar Jefferson, a couple of backup tight ends, Amon-Ra St. Brown, which is one of the guys I really wanted to talk about, and DJ Chark. So you're going to re-sign Penei Sewell. Like, there's no doubt. Like, he's assuming, like, based on the trajectory that he's on thus far, like, you're going to pay
foundational piece to the offense.
Yeah, you're going to pay him. You're going to pay him whatever, because whatever the market dictates that he gets paid, because what's going to end up happening is that Taylor Decker's contract is up after the next season. And I would not be shocked at all if Decker is either floated in trade talks at some point, like during the 2023 or 2024 season, or cut at some point, and then you would move Sewell from right to left, and then he would be your starting left tackle for at least the length of his second contract. I think Vaitai is making too much money right now. I think that you can probably replace what he brings pretty easily through the draft or through free agency.
And one of the things to think about of these magenta-colored players is this is their last year on the books, which means the previous year they're probably decent cap cut targets for someone like Vaitai. He may not even be there. Like we may have cut him the previous season because of the contract structures and limited dead money. So that's one of the things to think about as we're talking about this. Even when we get to the yellow players, like Decker may be cut in the pink year because for cap reasons or whatever. Right. I don't think so. I think they'll probably keep him around. It all depends on his health, if he stays healthy, and his performance, because even looking at Andrew Whitworth for the he would play till he was 40 or 41, and
that's amazing.
Right? So not that I think everybody can do that, but with health, I think we could throw another contract, probably a 2-year contract at him after that. Depending on,
and maybe they just switch sides. I mean, that's happened in the past. So, so I think that I don't think that you'll have to make a decision on Penei Sewell. You just pay him what the market rate is.
Yep.
You will have to see about Vaitai. He'd be in his early 30s, I believe, at this point. I don't believe that Jared Goff will make it to unrestricted free agency on his current deal. I think that he'll either be traded or cut. So the only two other guys to really talk about, in my opinion, are the two wide receivers. So Amon-Ra St. Brown went 90 catches for 900 yards and 5 touchdowns as a 4th-round pick in his rookie year. If he maintains, we're paying him $5 million over the course of his entire rookie contract. It's an immense deal. It's already an immense deal.
Yeah.
But if he maintains anything like those numbers and plays, he doesn't drop the ball. He ranked 3rd on like effective routes run against linebackers last year. So of everybody in the NFL, he was like the 3rd best matchup on a linebacker in the NFL, and doesn't drop the ball.
Yeah.
I'm
sure Cooper Kupp was number 1.
Yeah, he very well could be. That guy's amazing. And then if you add so the Lions added a guy in DJ Chark with good size, good speed. They drafted Jamison Williams, who has elite speed. If you're going to use those guys to push the ball down the field, that should only give St. Brown more space underneath to work. So I think that his effectiveness is only going to go up. Plus, he's been in the league for another year. Plus, he's figuring out how to keep his body in shape. He's learning the NFL. He's also improving.
Yeah.
He's very, very easily a starting slot wide receiver that they picked up in the 4th round. It's one of the better picks that I think that Brad Holmes has made thus far. And you're going to have to pay him, I think. Unless they adopt an attitude where you can just churn through wide receivers by drafting them, which I don't know that I agree with, but it's certainly a strategy some people are utilizing in the NFL. I think that you pay him. So, like, in a couple years out, like in this first class, like the guys that are leading the charge here, like Sewell and St. Brown, like they're going to get near market deals, if not market setting deals. And then Chark looks good in his first training camp. Everyone looks good in training camp, but like Chark's been looking really good. And like, if
Mayfield,
if he, got away from Mayfield, that's a good point. If he, if he's doing that on Sundays, like he's doing, during the course of the week and helping Jared Goff, like, and then Jameson Williams come back.
Yeah.
I mean, it looks like a very good receiving core.
Yeah. I mean, like you have to fill out that wide receiver room. You have to have depth. You want to have as much continuity as possible. When you look at the long-term good teams, there's a lot of continuity. There's a bit of turnover, but they're very like pinhole turnover. You don't get just wholesale rip and replace like we've had to do.
Right.
So you're going to want to keep guys like Amon-Ra St. Brown. He might not be market setting, but he's going to be one of those upper middle, free agents. So if you're going to go out to free agency and sign an upper middle free agent, you might as well just get the guy that you already know and love and knows the system and continuity, good in the locker room, and assuming he continues to do all that stuff. But I mean, you got to fill that spot with somebody. Why not him?
Right. And like the reason why we're going through this exercise is because that you and I speak a lot about like, don't go and trade for Roquan Smith and then pay him $20 million a year, on a second contract, even though he helps you right now, right? Because you can only have so many guys that make 10, 15, $20 million on your roster. And like those guys right now are the guys that are going to become free agents, in 2024.
Yeah.
And so like you mentioned the ESPN article about having talent under the age of 25, like DJ Chark is 25 and 8 months old. Like he doesn't count as being under 25 talent, but like he's right there, like he just missed that cut. It's not like he's, TJ Hawkinson is 25. Jonah Jackson is 25. These guys, I mean, there's a lot of talent that's right around that same age as well. But if we flip it over to the defense here.
Yeah, as you're transitioning there, I threw the link to the article, Pride of Detroit article that talks about that under 25-year-old talent and how we've jumped in to the top 10 there.
And ESPN has its own criteria as to how they're going to gauge, the talent on all these different NFL teams. And that's fine. Like, if Detroit had only jumped up 10 spots, like that's not disrespect to Detroit, or what have you, or like if Detroit's not number one overall on this list, that's not ESPN disrespecting the Detroit Lions. It's a list that exists on a website.
Yeah.
I mean, like I can't really express how little that actually matters in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah, and then like you mentioned, Chark is 25. Jack Fox, yeah, he's just a punter, but I mean he's a great punter. He's 25. Hawkinson's 25, and Jonah Jackson is 25. So yeah, even outside of a lot of the other guys that they listed in there, those are 4 quality dudes at 25. Like if the list was 26 and under, we'd probably be even higher.
Yeah.
We could still count those guys.
And the other thing about that list is that like next year we're going to be even higher on it because there's going to be another draft. Like we are not done adding young talent to this team. Like this team is probably still, I would say, 2 years away from saying like, we have our core. Now we're going to supplement at very specific, positions.
Yeah.
But if we look at the defense, it looks a lot like the people that Brad Holmes has drafted, right? So we have Melifonu's on here, Derek Barnes, Onwuzurike, McNeil, and then you have a couple of players that the Lions have already re-signed to contract extensions. Tracy Walker, Romeo Okwara, Charles Harris. These are guys that are current either starters or like primary backups. or they're trying to find their spot on the team. Like they converted Melifonwu from a corner to a safety. Derek Barnes is in the mix at linebacker. Tracy Walker, by the time that, his contract comes up, he'll be close to 30, and you will have paid him for his second contract at that position. Like I would be looking to, like, Tracy Walker would need to be an elite player by the time his contract is up for me to say we're going to sign him again to another deal, because you should be able to go out into free agency or the draft and replace the kind of talent that Tracy Walker is.
Right. Unless he takes that big step up that you're talking about.
Right. And like that's all dependent upon that. And like, so I'm calling this year a trap year because of the easy schedule. And I think that like we're going to have to really take a look at how the Lions have played and how they developed with a very critical eye.
Yeah.
Because when you get, I don't know how many games, 8, 9, 10 games against like the Seattles and Chicagos of the world that are at the bottom, or the bottom 5, bottom 10 of the league as far as like talent on their roster, like you should, like this team being on the ascent should beat those teams up.
Yep.
And so, barring injury, like we always say, like it's something that you're going to want to keep an eye on, because if this same squad went up against a top 5 most difficult schedule, that's the kind of team you're trying to build towards.
Yeah.
Is that like when the schedule comes out, it doesn't matter how difficult it is. You have a team that's capable of going out there and competing with and beating the very best teams in the NFL. And that's what you and I want for the Lions.
Yeah. You want to be the measuring stick.
Right.
Right. But the best part is, you were talking about we are ascending, right?
Yep.
The best part about that is the two primary divisional opponents that are above us, Green Bay and Minnesota, they're essentially peaking and will be descending by the time it's literally going to be inverted. You're going to go Top Gun, but they're going to be on their way down as we're really starting to peak, and that's going to be awesome.
Right. Yeah, I agree completely. And so, like, when we take a look at this defense here really quickly, like, Onwuzurike is dealing with an injury currently in camp, as is Pascal. Okwara has said that he came out in the media and said that he hopes he's going to be able to come back this season. And like worst case scenario, he doesn't come back this season. That would be something like 30 games in 2 years that this guy's missed with this injury. Like at that point, I think that you just have to cut bait.
Yeah.
So when I look at these guys, I think to myself, like, is Tracy Walker going to be worth an additional contract? Like, are we going to re-sign Melifonwu? Like, does McNeil prove himself? Does Onwuzurike, prove themselves as being worth a second contract guy, as being a core part of this team? So, like, when we start to ask ourselves those questions, we can go into things like the 2023 draft, the 2023 free agency, and we can say, like, how do you want to supplement? Like, what guys do you want to like keep on this team as, like, say, maybe they're veteran leaders now who know what's expected, who knows the system, like what the team's looking for. And, is it something like if Onwuzurike does not have a good year this upcoming season, like, is this a guy that you want to, like, maybe we should be looking at him as like a depth piece, for his second deal, and like look to draft a replacement for him, so we can get another rookie contract onto the squad to, so that we can sign Jack Fox to a contract, Riley Patterson to a contract, whomever it might be that comes up, a year or two ahead of time.
Yep.
That's what we're trying to decide. So I'm going to stop sharing. Now, the reason I'm not doing the yellows is because that is just our draft class from this year, and they haven't had an opportunity yet to even see the football field. So I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt to be like, I'm going to give you a year to like at least see what you do in the NFL before I start making decisions about why you should be kept on the team or not. So,
what kind of analyst are you? You should, as soon as that pick is being made, we should already be talking about whether they're going to be good enough for a second extension. That's what analysts do. Come on, man.
oh, so One Pride in the chat says, if Levi has a rough year, why not draft that defensive tackle from Clemson? I believe he means Brian Breezy. Yeah. Bullseye, dude. Like, depending on where the Lions fall, because I'm anticipating that the Lions are going to miss the playoffs on tiebreakers, which would put the Lions drafting somewhere between 16 and 18. And I would doubt heavily that, like, assuming that no one gets hurt and like they all have seasons kind of relevant to like what they had done in the past, that players like CJ Stroud, Bryce Young, Will Levis are going to be there at that slot. So you're either looking at a trade up scenario, or the Lions could say, we're going to sit here and see how the draft falls to us. And if that's the case, then like a Brian Breezy, if he's still on the board in the middle of the first round, seems like a real solid addition to me. Like I'm all about that guy. Jacob Slade. I don't know who Jacob Slade is yet. So who's Jacob Slade? Let me know. Team and position, please. Let's see.
And Funky mentioned in there, would you want to trade for Roquan Smith? And I kind of want to be like, rewatch the first part of this. If you came in, you must have left for a bit because we already talked about that. Give One Pride a little crap, but I think ultimately what we came down to was, not really. He'd be a help, but with the money that he's going to want and the fact that we're trying to build more through the draft, a little bit younger, so we can kind of extend the quality of that team, I think it makes sense to probably skip on him.
Yeah, I mean, like
he says, 10% of the cap is a lot for one dude. So
he's right.
Yeah.
Especially when that dude, I'm assuming we're talking about Roquan Smith here.
Yeah.
So especially when that guy is a linebacker, like the best linebacker, so when I say linebacker, what I mean is off-ball linebacker, like a guy that is going to quote unquote not rush the quarterback.
Right.
So like even if that guy, like I'm sure that Roquan Smith can rush the quarterback. I'm not saying that he can't or won't. I'm just saying that his primary responsibility is not to rush the quarterback.
Yeah. He's the traditional Chris Spielman kind of run stuffer, across the middle kind of guy.
So if you are a guy, a linebacker that's going to cover a tight end or a slot receiver or running back out of the backfield, I don't care who you are or where you're picked. I want you to be able to be proficient at that. So like Malcolm Rodriguez was a 6th round pick. If he's a guy that's going to be able to know the assignments, work towards the ball, help the defense improve, that's great. But like, I don't want to like go and draft Noah Sewell in the first round and then 4 years later have it turn into a Roquan Smith situation, because you're going to draft another quarterback at some point. You're going to have to save money for his second contract. And like Sewell's going to get a second contract. St. Brown looks like he's going to get one. Hutchinson probably will, like Jamison Williams probably will. Well, that's 5 guys.
Yeah.
And if it's like, if those are 5 second contract guys
all around the same time,
you are right. Exactly. That's the problem, is that like you're going to it's going to be like a bunch of water heading towards a very small hole very, very quickly. Like it's not all going to fit. And then you're going to need to figure out who the guy is that's not going to get paid, because you literally cannot pay everybody. So if Goff plays well, do you feel okay to add to this defense more? Oh, okay. If Goff plays well, you should trade him because he's worth more to everyone else. That's how I feel about it. Like, here's my feelings on Jared Goff, completely summarized. He is a starting caliber NFL quarterback, but he is not capable of beating the elite quarterbacks, the top 8 quarterbacks in the NFL. So The fact that you are paying him $30 million a year to not be capable of doing that is a detriment to this team in the sense of their salary cap. So if you can recoup draft capital and get rid of that detriment to your salary cap and potentially add the very best asset that any team in the NFL can have, which is a rookie quarterback that hits on a rookie contract,
that is
now you're really doing something.
Beating those top 8 or being in that top 8.
Right. Like you're hoping for like a Justin Herbert or a, God willing Joe Burrow kind of player, or like, and like that's the generation, behind Mahomes and Allen, who are now firmly in the elite kind of quarterbacks that you see. And like we even see like Kyler Murray is getting in the 40s up for money, and like Lamar Jackson's probably going to get close to what Aaron Rodgers got, and so I think that the way that the quarterback spending spree has gone up is there's got to be a limit as to like what you can pay those guys, because Joe Burrow might get 60. Justin Herbert might get yeah, he's got 2 years left.
Yeah.
So think about it, like Lamar is going to get his deal. I don't know who else is up in that time frame, but like I doubt that there's somebody else up there that's going to get something like a Lamar Jackson or a Joe Burrow or Josh Allen. So like you have to pick and choose who's going to be your 15 million plus a year players on your team. So when you're talking about signing TJ Hawkinson again and like DeAndre Swift again, if you sign, let's just make the math easy. Like if you sign TJ Hawkinson and DeAndre Swift for each $7.5 million a season for like 4 years, which is the guy of like Jameson Williams, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Penei Sewell, the rookie quarterback, or Hutchinson that you're not going to pay? Because you've split that money that would otherwise go to like a blue chipper to a couple of players who are good, who have been stalwarts of the team, but who are not blue chip talents.
Yeah.
And so like the ultimate in sports is like blue chip talent combined with blue collar work ethic, right? Well, so the Lions have got the blue collar work ethic part down.
Yeah.
So now they need to add the talent component to it, and that takes a lot of time. So Jalen Carter is an absolute beast, one pride. He's completely worthy of a top 5 pick. I think that he's probably going to be an elite defensive tackle in the NFL when he's done at Georgia. And I think that this year at Georgia, now that he doesn't have to rotate with Trayvon Walker, oh man, it's been so long since I thought about him. And like Jordan Davis and those other guys, I think that he's going to get a higher snap count, and like the production questions that we had about Georgia defensive players will no longer be a question with him. If we get Stroud or Levi or Van Dyke or Young, then we do it. If you get one of those 4 guys, I think that 3 of those guys are probably quarterbacks that you can build around in the NFL. Young, Stroud, and Levis. I don't know yet about Van Dyke. I'm very curious what he's going to do at Miami this year. I hope he has a good season because he's got all the measurables that you would want for an NFL caliber quarterback. But if you get one of those 4 and you get Goff off the books, that's like saving $20 million a year.
Yeah. Then you can afford other pieces.
Yeah, and he's probably what's going to happen. Let's say they drafted. Let's just say Taylor Van Dyke. Say like 15 or whatever.
Yeah.
Let's say they go into the 23 draft. They take Taylor Van Dyke at 15, and they say, Jared Goff, thank you so much, but we are trading you for a couple of mid-round picks or whatever. You get the money off the books. Everything's going great. He's probably going to have a bad rookie season, right? But like the difference is that you've built your O-line for him to not get killed like the Houston Texans did to Carr. Like you will have the defense as it is being rebuilt and the rest of the 2023 draft to improve the defense. All of the players that have been in the system will have been here for another year. Your depth will continue to shake out. And like there will be less and less of a problem, with this squad as a whole. And I think that is going to really, really help a rookie quarterback. Like, Mike, what is your number one, when you talk about Matthew Stafford, what was the one thing that you always talk about that held Matthew Stafford back from like getting to the playoffs or having success in the playoffs?
The team around him.
Yeah. Okay. Yes, that's true.
The defense.
Correct.
Our defense was horrendous, and we blew more fourth quarter lead. And people are like, well, he has to come back all the time because he's always behind. I'm like, he's always behind because we keep blowing fourth quarter leads like it's their job.
Right.
Historically bad defenses, points and yards, and like multiple times. So that wins are. I like to say the wins are a team stat,
right?
Which is not fair to me. Like, I don't know. I'm more of a realist. I understand people will judge quarterbacks on wins and losses.
Me too. So
I understand that. I think they're wrong because it is a team stat.
Yeah.
There's a lot that goes into wins and losses, but I understand that's going to happen. Right or wrong, it's going to happen.
So like I think what makes this trajectory, quote unquote, not the same old Lions, right, is that Brad Holmes has demonstrated that he's willing to spend premium resources, like as far as draft picks, when it comes to addressing things on the defense. He took 2 defensive tackles. He took Aiden Hutchinson. He drafted Josh Paschal. He took Kirby Joseph, like these. I mean, he converted Melifonwu into a safety. Like that is 6 either first, second, or third round picks he spent on the defense, right? Like they all can't be first rounders.
Yeah.
So
the offense, the notables are essentially Sewell and Williams.
Yeah. And those are the high price ones.
Yeah.
And then like the great thing about that I think that Brad Holmes has really brought is that like Amon-Ra St. Brown looks like a hit as a 4th rounder, and like you found a 2nd round talent in the 4th round. Like that's immeasurably valuable. Like that's great. I cannot rant about it enough.
Go ahead. Keep going. Nope. I don't want to cut you off.
I will talk for another 30 minutes. Please interrupt me. Yeah.
That's true. All right. So I'm going to throw something on the banner and I got to ask you.
Sure. I love surprises. Okay, yeah.
Hard Knocks. Like, How pumped are you? Like, come on.
So I have never watched Hard Knocks because I've never had HBO until this year.
2 days ago for me.
Yeah.
I added it to Hulu.
Right. So unfortunately for us, it debuts on Tuesdays at 10, which is effectively an hour and a half after we're done talking.
Yeah.
So to recap Hard Knocks episodes, it's going to be 6 days before we're going to be able to do it again, 7 days. Yeah, you might be right, Funky. And if that's the case, that's cool. My curiosity with Melifonwu is like, is he good enough to put as a starter somewhere as that chess piece? I guess that's my kind of like what I'm keeping an eye on this year about him. But as far as Hard Knocks is concerned, I am, as someone who approaches football and my primary interest in football being the construction of the roster, as opposed to like going out onto the field on Sunday and, competing. I think that I'm more interested in like getting an idea as to how the powers that be, Campbell, Brad Holmes, those guys, like arrive at their decision making. I'm sure that I'm going to be surprised by things on the show. I'm very interested to have a sneak peek, greater access to the team that I pay the most attention to. The only thing I care about as far as training camp, preseason is concerned is that the players don't get hurt.
Yeah.
I just don't want the players to get hurt before they have to go play meaningful NFL games that matter.
Yeah.
Like I would prefer week 1 that the squad can trot out there against the Eagles, and we have a
starters that they were planning on doing.
And see what the team looks like. That's what I want. I don't want. I mean, like injuries are going to happen. We're never going to dodge that bullet entirely. But I don't want to see what the squad looks like without Jared Goff on it. I mean, like, unfortunately, like I can't wait for Jameson Williams to get back. I can't wait for Mitchell to get back. These guys that are hurt, like Pascal's injury and Wuzurike's injury, I want them to clear up so that they're ready to go.
Yeah.
Or what have you. But like, last year with the last 7 games and, going 50-50 in those last 7 games with a tie and the 3 wins, I think that gave the fan base a lot of hope. And like, I do appreciate the fact that they went out and fought so hard every game, and that they did seem like they turned a corner. And that I don't like setting expectations for teams and players.
Yeah.
Because I think that's just a pathway for me being disappointed if they don't achieve them.
Yeah.
But like what I want more than just them going out there and playing hard. Like, to me, it seems like the coaching staff and like the articles that I'm reading and like the Twitter clips that I'm watching and like the interviews that they put out there, like that's supposed to be the standard. That's the minimum, is that they're going to play hard, right? I mean, like, we should not question.
They're professionals.
Correct. Like, absolutely. So like, we should not question what, or like hold them up to being like, well, at least they played really hard. Like, that was nice to see because we hadn't seen it in a while. But now it should be a matter of putting your jersey on. Like I'm not gonna sit here and praise them for playing hard if they go out and have like a 6-game losing streak.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be like, you played hard.
They're getting paid to do that. If they don't go out and give their all, they're not a good professional, and they're not worthy of our support. So,
right, and so
they played hard. Well, sure, they're playing for their next contract. They're playing for their existing contract. They don't want to get cut. So they're going to go out there and try. Anybody that doesn't is very quickly seen by not only like fans in the media, but the coaches see it like real quick. So I'm kind of the same way with that. For Hard Knocks, for me, I'm kind of curious what One Pride and those guys in the chat.
Where'd Whistles go?
Yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe
Whistles, tell us what you think about
in cars. I'm not sure.
Oh, wouldn't that have been crazy?
Yeah. But like, I'm kind of curious what you guys are excited about. I'm excited for a couple things. Number one, I'm a big fan of behind the scenes in general. So I tend to watch documentaries on everything. And I would watch the behind the scenes on, different movies. And I'd listen to the director's commentary as I'm watching the movie and those kinds of things. Like, I really dig the whole behind the scenes thought processes, how things work, how movies are made, in this case, how teams are made, how practices are run, how the decisions are made. I'm super excited to see that behind the scenes stuff.
Yeah.
And then I'm really curious to see Aiden Hutchinson sing Michael Jackson's song.
So you like, I have such a hard time with like what I consider to be like embarrassment.
Yeah.
Like, when I see other people doing things that is supposed to embarrass them, my skin literally, like, I have to like get up and leave. Like, it like makes me like my stomach crawl. So like, so I'm not interested in that part, but like, but yeah, I'm sure that each of us will find something of value to watch in this program as it runs. I'm really interested in seeing, like, as we get close to, like, preseason week 1, week 2, week 3, like when we start cutting down the roster, like what went into that, like, So that, because I think that that's going to be a good predictor of like when the decisions get more difficult in like 2023, 2024, 2025, when it comes to like, you aren't a journeyman on a prove it contract or a UDFA.
Right.
You were our 3rd round pick, 2 years ago, going up against a 4th round pick 3 years ago that's really busting it, like so like I want to be able to like kind of like focus in on some of the position coaches and like Ben Johnson, Aaron Glenn, Deuce Staley, these guys, and say, what do you value? How are you arriving at your what you value in these players?
Yeah. One pride. I'm kind of with you on this one. I want to see how we operate. I mean, we've seen a lot of incompetence over the last couple decades.
Right.
I mean, not just like the whole since 1957 thing. We had some decent teams in the 90s with Barry Sanders, right? There was a little bit of incompetence there as well, but nothing like what followed. So yeah, I definitely would like to see a little bit more of how we operate and see are they competent? They seem to be, but I'd love to see the behind the scenes stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I think I'm right with one pride there. I mean, like, I think that the fan base has been burned so many times so badly that like you really need to be told like you're not going to be burned this time. Here's why.
Yeah.
And like I think that's what one pride's getting at, is that like he wants to be, as do we all, we want to be reassured that this team, even though everything looks like it's headed in the right way, like in the right direction, that it is actually headed in the right direction. And like, so I get kind of beat up on like the Facebook group and like maybe sometimes like amongst people that you and I know for being negative about the Lions. But like, as of right now, this is a 3-win team last year.
Yeah.
And like there's a lot of good stuff, good draft, salary caps coming around. Looks like, the coaching staff's doing the things the right way. I like our ownership now, after hating them for years. And, love Brad Holmes, and so like all of that is great, but what does it really matter unless they go out on Sundays and win football games?
Yeah.
So like I will continue to say like the reason the game that I'm looking forward to the most this year is Thanksgiving for a couple reasons. Number one, it's Thanksgiving. And number two, you play the Bills, who are a Super Bowl contender. And I want to see where we stand when it comes to that team right now, because I think that it's going to be interesting if they play them really tough or go out and win it. You've got to I think you would have to use that game as like the metric or the litmus test for saying, should we reconsider what we're doing with this rebuild? Are we actually further along than we thought? So
yeah, they are a measuring stick. There's a few measuring stick teams out there. The Rams are one.
Mm-hmm.
The Bills are another one. I'm going to be curious about the Chiefs this year after losing Tyreek Hill. And
I think the Chiefs are going to be really good this year.
Think so? I'll be curious to see how that works.
Yeah.
And honestly, I think the Bengals, as much as people thought they were overrated last year and whatnot, I think they're a measuring stick team as well.
They have their wide receiver core is great.
Yeah.
Like with Joe Burrow, they should do everything. Like we talk about like a lot of like philosophy stuff and analytics and do this, don't do that, money, whatever. They should never have Joe Burrow without an absolutely elite wide receiver core. Like if you want Joe Burrow to get you back to the Super Bowl, you're going to need more wide receivers. And like, I don't think that they're going to be able to re-sign all those guys. I think Higgins is probably the one that's going to end up
on the cutting room floor.
Yeah, because you even see like I think that he's clearly the number 2 there, right? But like you see number 2 court wide receivers starting to get like 15, 16, 17, 18, $20 million a year now. So I think that he's probably going to ask for what a lot of teams would consider to be number one overall money.
Yeah.
And you just can't. I mean, with Joe Burrow is going to be like, Joe Burrow is going to make what his wide receiver core makes very soon, so.
Well, and you do need to, have the weapons around the centerpiece of your team, right? I mean,
right.
The Lions tried that. They had Stafford, they had Megatron, they had a big piece, and then they tried for Roy Williams, it didn't work out. They tried with Mike Williams, that didn't work out. So they lost a bit of time there trying to build that elite wide receiver core. We did end up getting Golden Tate. We did end up getting Marvin Jones Jr., although they didn't really overlap much.
Right.
And they were very good wide receivers, but they weren't elite.
No.
Like they were upper middle during free agency. Come to Detroit, have career years. They leave Detroit and they drop back down. But like we never had that like truly elite wide receiver core. Mm-hmm. And I think we tried, we failed. But that's what they need to not do in Cincinnati.
Right.
Right.
So this is about the point in the show where we call it. We're going to try and keep these to around an hour. So before we go, let's do one last round of questions in chat to see if anybody's got anything they want us to cover. Maybe Whistles comes back and gets a question in. Maybe Funky is I know that Luke G's field review is currently streaming in competition with our stream, which is a bummer. But if anybody has any questions or comments, you can always, and if you can't do it right now, you can always hit us up at the Casual GM Podcast at gmail.com. We'd love you to post some questions there. We'll read them out on the show. So last chance.
Like, comment, subscribe. So Drew in one of the Facebook groups, I think someone commented that you were wearing the Ravens hat previously.
Yes, correct.
And you said that you would get a brand new Lions hat and wear that if we got to 50 subscribers. So
that's correct. If we are halfway there.
We're halfway there.
We got our 25th subscriber yesterday. And when we hit 50, I will go out and buy a new Detroit Lions hat, which the only reason I don't do that already is that I've made a promise to myself that I will not support this team until they can prove that they are a winning franchise again. Get a grit hat. Let me look at. I don't know what that is.
Have you not seen that, Coach?
What is a grit hat?
So Coach Campbell had a hat. It was a
grit
blue
hat
hat
Lions.
Grit on it. It was smoking. I liked it.
I see. Okay, so
it literally just says grit.
Do we know if? Oh, there's Tim Twentyman. Oh, neat. Okay. I also. Let me see if I can post this. I probably won't be able to. Oh, I can share my screen.
You can
share my screen.
While you're doing that, one part asked if we should add another corner in the draft, and I think the answer to that is always. So almost every time, right? Oh, good Lord! You're killing me, Smalls.
Is it better?
That's better.
See, I was thinking about this one. I really like this.
Yeah, it looks like the Jacksonville Jaguars.
I think they all have one. It's like a format that all teams have had. But like, so I will make. Mike, we should do something. I'm going to stop sharing.
All right.
We should do something for Funky here. He's been a loyal fan, right?
Yeah.
So, what should we do? Like, if we get to 50, I'll get a hat. But like, I feel like if there's like another step, I will get the grit hat.
All right. So like it's like a time frame. We can get to 50 by a certain date.
Okay, let's do that. Let's say, what about week 1?
That's it. That's aggressive.
Okay, let's say Thanksgiving then, right? That's halfway through the season.
Yeah. Fuck you. Got to do nothing for me, man. That's
We
right.
don't have to, but we value you. You're a loyal contributor. Okay, we'll when we get to 50, we'll talk about it. How about that?
Yeah. We'll
One pride. How about this? No.
2014.
Those questions are impossible to answer. Like that is like a Madden kind of question to me. Like in Madden, sometimes you can do stuff like if you could put Brett Favre at his peak on, say, like the San Francisco 49ers, from 1988 or whatever, what would that look like? I don't know how that works, but like,
I also don't think the coach was the problem that game.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the year that we lost to Dallas in the playoffs. And we had the number 2 overall defensive squad in the league.
Uh-huh.
And in that game, it was an interesting game because the offense jumped out to like a 17-point lead or something like that, maybe a 14-point lead.
How can you remember this?
Because a lot of people talk crap about Stafford losing, and I'm like, okay, in the playoffs. So like I went back and like,
it's 8 years ago.
I know, but there's so much that where they're like, Stafford sucks, he can't win the playoffs. And I'm like, okay. So I went back and looked at the playoff games, and one of them was New Orleans. He put up 380 yards and 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. And we lose 42 to 28. Like, that's not Stafford's fault. He did everything he could. So I was also looking at the Dallas game, and we were up by either 14 or 17, like in the third quarter. I think we were up by 4 or something like that. About 8 minutes left in the fourth quarter. And that was when Brandon Pettigrew's 3rd and long, went down the sideline, clear interference.
Brandon Pettigrew.
Yep, they throw the flag for interference,
mm-hmm.
and the referees get together. They talk amongst themselves, and they pick up the flag and say, "Nope, there's no penalty." And we're like, "Clear penalty." So we kind of got screwed. We ended up having to punt. The punt was terrible, like 12 yards. It was right off the side of his foot. Our number 2 defense let them march right down the field and score with like 2 minutes and 3 seconds left.
Mm-hmm.
To lose the game. So I don't think it was the coaching that cost us the game. I think it was I hate blaming the refs, but I think it was a really bad call that cost us part of the game. The other part was our defense couldn't make a stop when it needed to.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Campbell would have been any different on that last defensive stand.
So to me, with these kind of questions, it can't be something like, to try and figure it out. It can't be something like what you just described, right? Like what you just described was a series of actions.
Yeah.
Like it has to be something like a decision, like should they have gone for it on 4th and 1 or whatever, like,
right.
Because then you could say, Campbell's been very aggressive on 4th downs, he probably would have gone for it, discussed the ramifications if they had made it, something like that. But who knows? So one pride.
If we do make that either as a completion or they actually keep the flag.
Yeah.
We are in field goal position, looking to extend our lead and run out the rest of the clock. Like, I think it's almost you never know, maybe the next pass is a pick 6, but like the way that game went
mm-hmm.
was almost a sure thing that we would run out that clock. We actually had a decent running game that year.
Okay. Yeah.
And I think we win that game, but
probably the Super Bowl too, right?
That was the closest we were going to get to it. That was the best team. I think we were Super Bowl competitors, or they were Super Bowl capable that year with that kind of a defense, but we'll never know.
Yes.
Might as well say yes, right?
Right, exactly.
For sure.
A happens, B happens, C happens, right? Yeah, exactly.
The other 2 teams in between there and the Super Bowl wouldn't have mattered.
Right. One pride, I'm not going to answer your question right now, but I'll do you one better. If you tune in next week, I will talk about what I think that they should do with their cornerback rule. Hint, it's blowing the entire thing up. So, and I'll talk about why I feel that way, and we'll take a look at like what they could do, I think, to rectify the problem, which I think is the next step of improving this team. So Campbell would have gone for it on 4th and 1 after the.
Yeah, he'd been feisty.
Yeah.
And Jim Schwartz would have ran out there and strangled the ref.
Jim Schwartz always looked like he was ready to have a stroke.
Throwing challenge flags when he didn't need to and everything, costing us touchdowns. But all right, let's bust out of here, Drew.
Okay.
Thank you for joining the chat, Funky and One Pride and
Whistles
and whoever else might have been just stalking us and not interacting. We appreciate you all.
Yeah,
and you too, Drew. Man, appreciate these talks.
Yeah, it's gonna get real interesting real quick around here. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm starting to get all Twitter pated about the football season. So
yeah, hour and 50 minutes.
Yeah, can't wait.
Hard knocking.
Yeah.
All right, talk to you later, buddy.
See ya.
All right, bye.
Bye.